Hello, friends. I'm Miranda Carter. There's Bean, and welcome to the Friend Zone. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. April is Autism Month, and I say it that way because there are two different ways of looking at it. Some people say April is Autistic Awareness Month, and some people say that April is Autistic Acceptance Month. If you are autistic, either way that you identify this month as is valid. If you are not autistic and an autistic person tells you which they prefer and you tell them that they're wrong, that's a little bit problematic. And I'll tell you why. Because if you, as a non autistic person, tell an actually autistic person that how they are viewing their own brain is wrong, you're silencing an autistic voice. And we get that enough. So, with that being said, happy Autism Month. We're glad you're here. You know what? People come here for you. I'm going to turn you around. People want to see your adorable, floofy, cute, and crazy face. How you like that? There you go. Isn't she pretty? Yes, you know it. So I was brainstorming ideas for what I wanted to do on my channel for Autism Month, and it came to my attention that the best performing videos on my channel are the reactions to birthday memes. It made sense that I should react to autism memes and autism infographics. Now, I did have to scour the internet pretty good because anything that was just kind of out in the open, like on Reddit and things like that, I found that a lot of those were like classmates of autistic people or people that were like best friends of autistic people. And they're really more poking good natured fun at their friends. And some of it's based on like old stereotypes, old information, and it's kind of harmful. So I wanted to avoid those. And what I did was I went through my autistic community and the things that they have posted resonated really strongly with me. And those were the ones that I enjoyed, and those were the ones that I was able to laugh at. And so I feel comfortable using those because we're more or less laughing at me. So without further ado, let's react to some autism memes. Wow, how did you get like that? Every time somebody says I don't look autistic, I do one push up. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I hear that a lot. I don't know what an autistic person is supposed to look like, but apparently this ain't it. I just realized I'm a little bit in the way of the meme, so I'm gonna scoot this way a little bit. Okay. But you're so high functioning. I'm really not. People rarely see me melting down in the outside world. When I do melt down in public, then I'm just a bitch, or I'm rude, or I'm weird and unpleasant. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. I have lost count of how many friends, family, loved ones that I have insulted because I haven't been able to get myself to try their food. I know that the texture is something that I'm not going to be able to get over. I know that the smell doesn't jive with me. So then, if the smell doesn't jive with me, I know that the taste isn't going to jive with me, and I don't want to hurt their feelings. So I end up just defaulting to, I'm sorry, I'm just picky. I also know that going out to restaurants with me is kind of an adventure. I have to research the menu ahead of time to make sure that they still have my favorite thing to see what's new. And when I come across a menu that's got an ingredient list that's about this long, I start to panic because I know that there's about three things in that list that I don't like. And so it's hard for me to say, okay, well, can I get it without this, this, and this? Can I substitute this for this? And I know how it sounds. And I know because I've been a waitress before and I know how annoying it is. And I know for the chef, they're used to making it that way. And if they're the chef that created it, they made it that way because those flavors go together in a beautiful combination. And when somebody asks for something that deviates from that, then you're kind of wrecking their art. And so I panic and it builds up, and I don't want to sound like this horrible person in the restaurant. I also know that that was a really long tangent. Another clue that I'm autistic. When did she do that? When did she flip back around? Turkey. Okay, maybe I'm ADD. Or both. A lot of people are both. There's a lot of overlap. That actually gives us a nice transition into our next meme. Meds. ADHD. Meds, autism, meds. Yeah, I discovered that I do not like taking medication. I have to be absolutely dying, and that's because medication reacts with me very, very differently. I'm sensitive to some things, and then there's other things where you pretty much have to dose me like I'm a rhinoceros in order for it to have any effect on me. And so, not knowing where I'm going to fall in that spectrum is very anxiety inducing. And so, I tend to stay away from medications as much as possible. Me, waiting for people to recognize that autistic people are the only experts on autism. Yeah, that's a big pain point in the autistic community. And in fact, I am going to go to Reddit for the comment section because so many other autistic people have spoken up, and I feel that their comments are very valid and we should hear them. So, in case you're wondering, that specific meme came from r/autistic memes, which is the subreddit on reddit.com. So, if you're interested in seeing more memes that maybe I didn't get to, this one was a brand new one. This one was only posted 4 days ago, but they're always coming out with fresh new things. So, it's definitely worth taking a look at. Time to hire some autistic doctors to diagnose other autistics. I had this experience and it was pretty nice because I didn't have to over explain to pre clarify accidentally insinuated subtext, and meeting a psychologist who understands the struggle made the process easier. Many medical professionals think too highly of themselves and get pissed off if you don't believe they know you better than you know yourself after talking to you once. Two, they're ableist and don't believe autistic people have the necessary intelligence to know what's going on. And I will interject my own personal story here because I did say I wasn't going to seek a medical diagnosis because of a billion reasons. And if you want to know why, see one of my previous videos. I don't remember which one it is. Sorry. But I did actually have a doctor's appointment. I was being established as a brand new patient. And so I did mention in passing that my son was autistic and that I believed I was autistic as well. And I asked him about, okay, maybe I should get a medical diagnosis to kind of gauge like what he thought. And he said, well, what makes you think you're autistic? And I said, well, my mind runs at a million miles a minute. I don't sleep because I cannot shut my brain off. And he immediately said, well, that happens to a lot of people and they're not all autistic. So the very first thing out of my mouth that had anything to do with autism, he was ready to shut that down like immediately. That made me feel dismissed. It made me feel like I couldn't trust that doctor with anything that I had to say after that. And that was within like the first 5 minutes of knowing me. So, yeah, it absolutely happens. I don't know if it was because I'm a woman. I don't know if it was because he's an older doctor and he's more old school or what the issue was, but I did let him know I can see that you're not the doctor for me. And he asked me, well, what should I do? And I said, maybe don't dismiss the very first thing that comes out of my mouth. Women get dismissed so easily and so quickly, and it has to stop. And then I walked out. And again, that's me appearing rude because in a normal situation, yeah, maybe I overreacted. But at the same time, I think that most autistic people would say, no, absolutely not. That is not the doctor for you. So I definitely agree with this person who said, most doctors don't know what's going on. If you have a question, please ask multiple autistic professionals. I remember a doctor said that he prescribes gluten diets to cure autism. How and why and stop it? Like, WTF, autism isn't like a mineral deficiency where a diet can fix it. Slams table. That person was that mad, they typed out that they were slamming a table. And then this person is ADHD and autistic, and they said, I agree with the sentiment, but feel like clarifying something important that someone mentioned to me, and I agree with it. A single autistic person is not an expert on autism. That's absolutely true. As we all know, if you have met one autistic person, you have only met a single autistic person. I have said that. Being in a personal capacity, I would like to stress that the very nature of autism makes being an expert on your own autism quite difficult. Why? Well, you are autistic. Think about it. That makes a lot of sense. This person is making so much sense. If we were experts on ourselves, then why do we struggle to navigate our symptoms a lot of the time? Sure, maybe you are the expert on this and you know exactly how to respond to when you feel a certain way. I am absolutely grateful for you, and please do share your tricks with the class. But once again, my issues are not identical to your issues. And the most that works is us finding enough relatable qualities, talking to other autistic folks to be actually quite knowledgeable on our part of the spectrum. I like that, our part of the spectrum. There is always more to learn about a spectrum as it implies a lot of variability. Perhaps people who went to university and have an understanding of autism in a way we wouldn't, for instance, perhaps they are an expert at helping autistic folks in this particular way. That's true. They are learning how to help us. However, they don't have the personal experience, that background that I feel like helps them understand it in a deeper meaning. So, being autistic myself, I see both sides. But continuing on with this person's comment, I just feel that the very concept of there being an expert on autism is an oxymoron when it's like saying someone is an expert on neurotypicals. Being an expert on autism is like being an expert on physics. Sure, a physicist can tell you a hell of a lot, but a physicist has to fall back on educated guesses and, in some cases, speculations for things we don't know enough about yet. Maybe that's spooky, but that's kind of the wonderful thing about science. The whole process is the method of trying to understand everything. Science! There is always more to learn, remain humble, and be the change you want to see. I absolutely agree with that 100%. And I think that both viewpoints are absolutely valid. You can feel both ways about the situation. This is why it's important to not read into things with black and white thinking. Another person said, very well put. There's a saying that goes, you can't fix a broken brain with a broken brain. I have no idea what I look like to other people. I always thought it would be helpful to see myself in action on video of that just got very meta. Stop making me nervous for my next appointment next month. That poor person. I spent 46 years seeing doctors trying to get help. I had to figure it out myself because doctors just kept telling me I was anxious and depressed while prescribing higher doses of medication. The meds only made things worse. Yep, another reason I don't like medication. I had a very skewed perception of autism until I started listening to some autistic individuals and found myself relating to them like I had never related to anyone. That sounds super familiar. I agree that the medical field should do more listening to autistic individuals. They really want to believe the mask. And for those of you who don't know, masking is when an autistic person has felt the societal pressure to fit in. And so they hide certain qualities about themselves in order to fit in and appear normal. And so a lot of us have been doing it for years and we don't even know that we're doing it. And so once we realize that that's what has been going on, now we're unmasking. And that can look really terrible. That can look like we're being rude. As one with peer-reviewed autism, yeah. Like I'm self-identified and I'm very worried I'm faking, especially with interests in social stuff. Sorry if I'm being annoying. My heart bleeds for you. But they say, newsflash, you do not have more expertise than a psychologist who specializes in autism. Please stop branding all medical professionals as idiots when it comes to autism. That's valid too. But to generalize, that's just as bad as people generalizing us. So I agree. We shouldn't generalize all doctors as idiots. And somebody answered that. I'm generally the first person to scream, trust expertise into the void. But I really think there's a block here for neurotypical doctors studying this because it's extraordinarily difficult to imagine the ways and reasons someone else's entire consciousness works differently than yours. And I really feel like it's one of those things that you have to actually experience. Just like I can never know how their mind works and what their motivations are. It's like running on two different operating systems. Wow, that is beautifully written. And that was written by an autistic person. Thanks for going along with me on that journey of reading all of those actually autistic reactions to this meme. If you have your own reaction to this meme, I would love to hear it. I see you've decided to join us again. Lovely. Okay, next meme. Okay, I hate this fork. Are you, is it like a knife and a fork? Why are there only 3 prongs? This is breaking my brain and I don't like it. I wouldn't leave the restaurant because that was the fork that they had, but just I feel like having it in my hand would just be super uncomfortable. I feel like the way that it would go into the corners of my mouth, I feel like the way that my tongue would scrape across 3 prongs that are thicker instead of 4 regular size prongs. It's a lot. I'm looking way too far into this. Hey, look, it's you. She cares not. But you don't look autistic. I know people with autism and you're nothing like them. You don't have it that bad. Ooh. You have no idea. Do not say these things to your autistic friends. But you have friends. You're just using it as an excuse. Please, for the love of God, don't say any of these to any autistic person that you meet. I know that in the depths of your heart, you are very well meaning and you mean it to be a compliment. But honestly, these are backhanded, gaslighty type compliments. So it's best to just not say them. Walking through the perfume section of the department store with my super sensitive nose. I feel that in my core. I am highly sensitive to cigarette smoke. I tried to convince my doctors that I was allergic, and they said that there's nothing in cigarettes that is an allergen. Turns out I was just autistic. My reaction to cigarette smoke is horrible because I can feel my throat getting a little bit restricted. My nose runs, my eyes water. It ruins my makeup if I happen to have put on makeup that day. And overall, I just don't like feeling like my face is melting. And that brings me to a really good point. For my indoor play park and for my sensory gym, they are both going to be scent-free zones just because of things like this. We never know what scents are going to make somebody else uncomfortable. So it's best to just go with plain soap and water, plain old laundry detergent, and call it a day. I just realized that I went on so many neurodivergent tangents that I'm starting to run out of time. So I have one last meme for you. So his thought process is, are these clothes nice enough to be my uniform? Is about to buy 900 copies of this outfit. I do feel that there are certain textures in clothing that is ungodly uncomfortable. I can't stand lace. Lace gives me red kind of rashes. My skin is very sensitive. Also, cashmere and angora, they are so soft and lovely, but just the little ends of the hairs sticking into my skin irritates it, turns it red, and it feels like I'm wearing a fiberglass sweater by the end of the day, which is absolutely no fun. Also, I can't stand anything that's restrictive. I do not wear turtlenecks. I can't stand having anything like around my throat. I just really don't like the restrictive feeling. And even if it's not that tight, I feel like it is. So I'm constantly like pulling things away from my throat, even hoodies that, are only about this. I can't stand having this buttoned all the way up. I can't stand wearing an actual tie that's tied all the way and looks nice where it's supposed to sit. Just all of those things are completely undoable for me. And it's made theater a little bit difficult because I have to let my costume designer and my director know that, hey, these are things that are going to make me really uncomfortable on stage. I would really like to stay away from them. And it may or may not cost me a part that I really want. And that kind of sucks. As I said, I talked way too long about way too many things. That's kind of the hazard of being autistic. You kind of info dump on people. But thank you so much for coming along with me on that journey. I will do a part 2 that has the infographics because there is some wonderful information out there, and I will get to that next week. I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel, joining my Facebook group, checking out my website. And if you have any questions, comments, anything that you want to suggest for a video, feel free to email me. My email is miranda@friendzoneoc.com. Thanks, and I look forward to seeing you real soon.